Hello, fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the X-Men Team X-Jet and Storm from the Epic Hero series for the upcoming X-Men 97 cartoon for Disney+. Now, I will say that back in the day in the original cartoon, this thing was called the Blackbird, but then again, this is only like a single-person vehicle, so maybe they didn't want to call it the Blackbird because it's not quite the Blackbird, but it really looks like the Blackbird, in my opinion. And about the time of the 99 movie was when they started calling it the X-Jet in all the things in animation. And I just don't like that name. It's so boring. It's so unimaginative. I loved the Blackbird. I thought that was such a cool name. So it is what it is. But in any case, it looks like we're getting our Storm figure here. She's rocking a mohawk this time around, which is very cool. And while it is only a one-passenger vehicle, there looks to be a little space on the back where someone can ride it like a jet ski, so that's going on. And then we've got the Hero Swing, which looks like it can lower down some kind of rope, maybe to pick up, friends and allies and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. Plastic-free packaging, of course, so we don't actually see anything, contents of inside. There's no exposed area, no bubble or anything like that. Some nice animation of Storm up there. Over here we have a group shot of the X-Men from the front of the individual figure packaging. Looks to be the same. Now see, here is the full-on Blackbird from the cartoon, so I assume that's what this is supposed to be. But you can see that that's much larger. I didn't really expect them to make like a full-on giant Blackbird. It would have been cool if it could at least fit 2 or 3 characters, but it is what it is. It definitely looks to be an improvement over the ship from the Guardians, so I am appreciative of that. Over here, again, some nice artwork of Storm. And then on this side, we have that same group shot from the individual figure packaging. And then over here, again, just kind of showing off some of the same features. Looks like we have a missile launcher. We have a, opening cockpit. We have the Hero Swing. We have the carrier on the back. Looking pretty cool. So I'm excited for this. I'm going to go ahead and get everything out of the box. I'm assuming there's going to be some assembly required, so I'll take care of that, and then we'll take a closer look at this thing. Alright, so here we go. First thing I'll say, I'm pretty happy with this set. I think they did a really nice job. We'll start with Storm first. We'll take a quick look at her. I think she came out great, honestly. I love the mohawk. I think that works really well. She's got her little lightning bolt earrings, which I think are pretty cool. The eye painting on mine is a little wonky, but honestly not too bad. For the most part, I think she came out pretty great. The head can swivel from side to side. Great shoulder pad. She's got the 2 X-Men logos there that I think she uses one of them as a comlink on the show. The cape is pretty cool. So the way they did the cape, it's kind of a softer, rubbery plastic. And these pieces kind of just like gently clip over the wrists. So when she's kind of standing like this, everything is normal. Now, when, she would raise her arms, obviously the cape would kind of go up with it, and you can't really do that here. So if you want her in some kind of like arms straight out to the side pose, these are going to kind of just hang out here. If you don't really like the look of that, though, you can easily just take the cape off. That's very simple. Giant peg hole here in the back. But if you want her to just kind of fly around without a cape, totally doable. And I honestly think she looks okay like this. I don't think it's a problem. Can kick pretty far forward, kick pretty far out to the side. You got the hinge and the rotation in the knees as well as the elbows. Very typical articulation for the Epic Hero series. But overall, I think she looks good. I think they did a really nice job. I mean, I don't really know how else to do the cape. The only other option would be for it to be soft goods. And then, it wouldn't have been very simple to attach it to the back. So, there's not really a way that they could have had it raise up with the arms. So if you just want to kind of pose her... I mean, I will say this looks kind of funny when they're just hanging there in midair. But if you want her to just kind of be posed with the arms to the side, and then you can softly clip them over, I think that looks good. Honestly, I do like that a lot. It's just not a super dynamic pose, but it does look cool. I maybe would have done it where, have her arms out to the side and maybe have it always kind of wider, but that's just me. I will say her effect piece, I think, is the best one that I've seen so far. It is a lightning piece, and you can see that there is a bit of plastic there right here to kind of grasp around her wrist. And it just looks like she's shooting lightning. I think that works well. I think that looks good. Simple but effective. I kind of would have preferred 2 of them, but I can make do with 1. That's not a problem. Yeah, I think Storm really came out great. There's not really a way to win with the cape, I'll be honest. It's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult design. I feel like they did the best they could. If they tried to do a soft goods cape, I don't think it would have been that effective. Like I said, the only thing I would have changed is maybe have, the default position be with her arms out to the side for when she's flying or when she's attacking. But I do think this looks pretty cool. And like I said, if you don't like it, it's easy enough to remove the cape and you still have a really solid figure here. So that turned out pretty great. Let's go ahead and take a look at the X-Jet. I like this a lot. The first vehicle you bought for this was the Guardian ship, and you're a little worried about how they're going to handle vehicles going forward, let this one put your mind at ease, because this, in my opinion, is such a 180 from that ship they did for the Guardians. This is a really nice, solid vehicle. It looks great. The colors are really well done. I love the canopy, very reminiscent of the design of the Blackbird from the cartoon. They even did this, which I think is really cool. So the missile launcher is right here. And this yellow piece here is the button that fires the missile. Now on this side, this just stores the bonus missile. So there's no spring on this one, which is fine. What they did was, you have these fin pieces that you have to clip in. I didn't really talk about the assembly. It's pretty basic. You clip in these 2 wing pieces, you clip in these 2 wing pieces, and then you clip in these 2 fins, and that's really it. So this side gets a shorter fin because the spring-loaded button is there. This side gets a longer fin where they left a space and painted this piece yellow to look like the button. So this one's not a button, but they made it look like a button so that it's symmetrical. And I think that is such a nice attention to detail so that it doesn't look out of place. The button for the spring-loaded gimmick is perfectly integrated in, and it doesn't look weird. The Guardians ship had that, handle with a trigger, and it looked more like a Nerf gun than a ship, and I was so turned off by that. But I think this is done beautifully. I mean, the fact that they made this fake button over here to be perfectly symmetrical, so you can't tell that, now they could have just made both sides firing missile launchers, and that's fine, but I don't need them both to be. But at least they made it look like it's symmetrical, and I love that. So if you hit this one, it fires pretty well, and you just pop it right back in, and it's simple. But that's really cool. I like that. I like that they have the wings facing this way, again, indicative of the Blackbird. Like I said, these pieces pop in, these pieces down here pop in, and then with this piece that's molded in, it just sits very nicely, no problems there. I did have someone ask about this piece here. I guess theirs was missing it, which is a bummer. Mine definitely was already attached in the box. I did not have to attach this piece, and it was already on here. It just kind of sits up here. Honestly, I don't really feel like it's super necessary, though. There is a little peg right here, so you can peg in another character. So we'll get Cyclops to help us out here. And, of course, they have peg holes on the bottom of their feet. And we just go ahead and peg that in. And you don't even need to hold on to that piece. I mean, and plus when you put it up, it's so far away from where they're standing. I don't know how he would hold on to it. It's just weird. It's like a jet ski piece, and I just don't even feel like it's needed. I would just peg him in and have him hang out. The other thing is that it's kind of hollow here, so you can almost just kind of like tuck them in here, which is weird as well. So I don't know what's going on with this. There's a lot of space in here, as you can see, all that hollow space. You can just kind of take a nap back there, I guess. But even if you just have them pegged in here, which is great, it's fine. Someone can stand on the back, and I'm fine with that. But then you kind of have to like bring this all the way back for him to like hold on to it, which is fine, I guess. I don't know. This piece just seems like it's unnecessary. I'm glad that they have the peg, because I feel like I would rather just peg him in because that's sturdier. But I also just kind of feel like this wasn't necessary. But it's fine. It's not in the way of anything. Let's open up the cockpit here, so you can just kind of pop a nail in here on the front and pop this up. There's a lot of really nice molded in detail in the cockpit. You have screens, controls, everything like that. I like that a lot. So how this will work is I'll show you with Storm. You're probably going to have to... Well, can we do it without taking the cape off? I guess you can. Yeah, I guess you can. I thought I'd have to take the cape off, but you can just kind of lay her down in there. and then close this up, you know, no problem whatsoever. She can fly, though, so I feel like, why does she need the jet? And just to show with other characters, Cyclops can fit in here as well. I don't think you'll have any problem fitting any of the figures in here. It's a pretty gigantic area in here. The only thing I honestly wish they would have done with this, make it a little bit longer and make it so that 2 could fit in. Kind of like a standard, you know, like the G.I. Joe Sky Striker, how they can kind of have the pilot and co-pilot. I understand they can't make this thing, you know, the huge playset that the Toy Biz one did back in the day. But if I could have just fit a second X-Men team member, just to have like one in the front and then one behind him, just kind of extend this out, I feel like, one, it would have made it look even more like the Blackbird because the fuselage is just naturally longer, and it would have been able to fit 2 characters, plus you could have had a third one on the back. I feel like that would have been pretty good for, you know, transporting a decent member of the team. So that's the only thing I really would have changed. Otherwise, I like this a lot. I love, you know, the tinted red window. The yellow paint with the blue looks really sharp. I like that you can have another character stand back here. Oh, I forgot to mention, so the way this swing works, this pops out, and it's just a piece here on a ball joint. You know, no problem there. And how it would work, let me prep a figure to do this. Pop this up, and then we will have him grab onto this, like so. And then there you go. He's just swinging. So it's functional. It works. I'm fine with it. And the nice thing is, it kind of pops up, and there's, I don't know if you can see this, but there's like super tiny little tabs that just kind of hold it. It doesn't tab into it, but it just kind of like gives it something to kind of friction it into place so that it stays in place and it isn't a problem. So if you don't really like the swing, you could probably even pop it out of the ball joint, but for the most part, you can tuck it under and kind of forget it exists if you don't like it. So it's a nice function there. Doesn't get in the way of anything. Certainly doesn't ruin anything. I'm just super impressed with this. I really, really like the job they did. Aesthetically, I think it looks amazing. I like all the features that it has. And to me, it's just, in just one more release, they've come such a long way from that first ship they did for the Guardians. And I'm just so much more impressed with this. I really love this release. Now, to be fair, my nostalgia for the original X-Men animated cartoon could be a factor here, but even just trying to be completely objective about it, it's a solid vehicle. I think they did a really good job. I mean, one, aesthetically, it looks great. You know, it has a giant canopy that will have no trouble holding a figure. You have this area in the back where you can store another figure. You have the swing where you technically could store a third figure. You have the firing missile. It comes with a figure, which looks fantastic. I think Storm came out really great. The effect piece for her, the lightning piece, is also great. So I'm really happy with this. And when I think back to that ship for the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it wasn't the worst thing at the time, but there were definitely a number of things about that kind of turned me off. I definitely didn't like the handle and the trigger for the missile launcher, and there's nothing like that here. The missile launcher is very seamlessly integrated into the ship. Looks natural, and even on the side that doesn't fire the missile, they made it symmetrical. I really appreciate that. And the fact that the whole back of that Guardians ship was open so the little pod could come out. It kind of felt like the whole pod feature took over that whole ship, whereas all of the features here are really nicely integrated and don't take anything away. They actually enhance. So I love this ship. It looks fantastic. All of the features are great. The figure's great. If I had to complain about anything, like I said, I wish they could have just extended the fuselage a little bit so that you could fit 2 figures in the cockpit, one behind the other. I think that would have been fair, because then you could have 2, 3 with the swing 4, and that would be a pretty decent chunk of the team, especially since some of them can fly, so I feel like you kind of have most of your bases covered there. But that's really it. Honestly, otherwise, I think this ship is kind of perfect, and I really love it. It's bright, colorful, fun. The features are great. It holds the figures well. I'm really, really happy with it. I just wish it could hold, you know, make this a little bit longer and fit 2 in that cockpit, and I would be perfect for me. Storm, again, looks fantastic. Love the mohawk. All the details are great. The cape's a little weird, but I understand they were kind of in a no-win scenario with the cape. And what they did is fine. And if you really don't like the cape, you can easily remove it and you still have a pretty terrific figure underneath. So I'm really happy with this release. I definitely recommend it very highly. All of the X-Men stuff so far has been pretty great. There is a Sentinel as well that they made. I tried to order that, but Amazon was having some fun with their listings, and they had a 12-inch or maybe even 14-inch Wolverine listed as the Sentinel, and then the Sentinel was listed as Wolverine, so they switched them up there, and so I got a 14-inch Wolverine in the mail instead of the Sentinel that I requested, but that's being sorted out. And once I have that Sentinel, I'll review that for you as well. In the meantime, though, you could probably use the Sentinels from the Kenner line. Probably wouldn't be too bad. When I do get to review that Sentinel, I'll definitely compare it to the Kenner one and see how they measure up. But yeah, it's a great time for X-Men. I'm loving these. These are fantastic. I believe this was $35 for the set. And it's great. Honestly, I don't mind it at all. The other thing is, I know in the show they had the Blackbird, but then they had some smaller jets. So maybe, you know, this goes on sale later on. I pick up a second one just to have some more transportation for the team. We'll see. But I definitely think, you know, this is worth the full price. I'm very, very happy with this and definitely cannot recommend it enough. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.